I wanted to take this opportunity to meet with you all, make myself available in case you had some questions. But I do want to make a few announcements now, and of course there'll be plenty more over the next several days. First of all, I will announce to you that my Chief of Staff in the administration and the person who will lead the transition effort is Senator Ben Nevers from Okaloosa, my friend and somebody who was my mentor when I went to the legislature, and I'm so thankful that Ben has agreed to serve in this capacity. And I know that together he and I will work extremely hard to put Louisiana first and to form a state government that looks like the people of Louisiana, that will be responsive to the needs of the people of Louisiana and will deliver upon the pledges that I made during the campaign. And I could not be more excited than to have someone who is so respected, not just in Baton Rouge, but around the state of Louisiana, and not just in government, but in business and industry, higher education, throughout the state of Louisiana. So Ben, thank you very much for your dedication to the people of Louisiana. I would also announce that co-chairs of the transition team will be Ms. Laura Leach of Lake Charles, Mayor Jamie Mayo of Monroe, Sheriff Newell Norman of Jefferson Parish, Senator Sharon Weston Broome of Baton Rouge, Mr. Taylor Townsend of Natchitoches, and Mr. Richard Lipsey of Baton Rouge. Together, those 6 individuals will co-chair the transition into office, and obviously we have a lot of work to do. There are only 47 working days between now and January the 11th, and that includes Saturdays and Sundays. The only days I don't include are holidays, and we may work half a day on those days because we've got a lot to get accomplished. If you look at the schedule, and many of you and I have had an opportunity to talk about this over the last several months, just looking at the demands coming up. If you just look at the holidays between now and January the 11th, understand we will have a special session in February, so we have to come up with a legislative agenda there with precision, and then also simultaneously prepare for the legislative session will start in March, the regular session for next year. We certainly have our plate full, and that is complicated by the fact that the state of Louisiana is not doing well, as you all know, especially with respect to the structural budget deficit, where last week the Joint Legislative Committee on the Budget opted to push the current mid-year problems into next fiscal year. That's okay, we're up to the challenge, but we're going to have to get to work to tackle those. I want you all to know that the transition team will stand up on the LSU campus. We will operate out of the Kirby Smith dormitory. I believe it will be the 12th floor of the Kirby Smith Hall at LSU. There will be a website soon. Do not have it yet. And I also want to make sure you all know that for communications, you can continue to reach out to the same folks that you were reaching out to during the campaign. And Mary Patricia Ray will assist you in making sure that you get the information that you need. I will tell you that after getting up this morning and reading 3 newspapers, all which reported the same result from last night, I'm very gratified by the election results, and I know that there is a tremendous task ahead of us. I am committed to doing everything that I said I was going to do in the campaign, to put Louisiana first, to materially change the direction of our state, to move in a new and better direction, to be the governor of all the people, whether or not they voted for me, whether or not they voted at all. We're going to be one state. You're going to find that our approach to governance will be much different than it has been under Governor Jindal. We're going to be very inclusive. We will be very moderate. and we're going to govern from the perspective of being Louisianans first. Now, with that, I'm ready to take a few questions. But before I do, I'll note that the only person I mentioned today up here with me is Senator Ben Nevers. Obviously, I have my family with me, my wife, Donna, and my children, Samantha Bell, Sarah Ellen, and John Miller, as well as Samantha Bell's fiance, Jonathan Rico. Well, first of all, it's going to be to tackle, and by the way, now that the current mid-year problems have been pushed into the next fiscal year, there may only be one special session, and I suspect that's what we're going to do. But it's going to be making sure that we can get through the next fiscal year without driving our higher education universities into bankruptcy, to make sure that our safety net hospital system continues to operate, and that we meet the basic obligations to the people of Louisiana. And that's going to be a daunting challenge. This will be the 8th straight year of revenue shortfalls. All of the easy work was done a long time ago. It's time to do the hard work. It's time to have an honest and disciplined approach to governance, and that's what we intend to do. And my plans are no different than what I told you during the campaign. Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, I just told you we're going to put Louisiana first. I'm going to work with Republicans and Democrats. If they're solid on the agenda, if they're willing to work, I'm willing to work with them. Those decisions have not been made. You know, let me tell you all, until 8 o'clock last night, I was a candidate. I didn't spend 1 minute measuring drapes. I was not working on transition. I was not trying to figure out all of these other things that you all want me to address today. And I understand your questions. They're reasonable questions, but I did not spend time before I woke up this morning worried about these particular issues. But you're going to have a number of announcements coming out over the next several days, and the pieces to the puzzle are going to come together. And I believe the people of Louisiana are going to be very well satisfied with the effort that we're going to make to put together a good state government for them. Melinda? Well, first of all, I intend to have good communications with the legislature before and during my administration. I don't intend to tell the legislature exactly who they need to put in what positions, but there will be communications because we have an agenda. I was just elected with 56% of the votes, saying that I was going to do certain things, and I'm going to work to make sure that we get those initiatives through the legislature. And so, yeah, there are going to be communications, but you know, when you have a good agenda and good leadership, there's less need for. Any other questions? Yeah, first of all, I'm going to do it as soon as I can, and make sure that it works properly. There is some question now about HCR 75 from last year and whether that needs to be redone. There is a difference of opinion, I will tell you. I will be looking at that, but the expansion of health care coverage for working families is among the highest priorities. It's something I've been working on for 3 years. And I never once during this campaign shied away from that particular issue. And so we are going to expand the Medicaid program in Louisiana. We're going to do it as soon as we possibly can, as responsibly as we possibly can, and it will be part of the early initiatives that you see in my administration. Well, first of all, I have toured the hospital in Shreveport. I have met with the Biomedical Research Foundation people. I have met with the folks who run the hospital in Monroe as well. I'm just going to be fair. I have not made a determination as to what needs to happen with respect to that particular partnership. I will tell you that from my perspective, there's almost universal praise for the way the hospital in Monroe has been administered, and it's the same entity that's administering the one in Shreveport. So it's hard for me to understand how they have the expertise necessary to effectively manage a hospital in Monroe, but not in Shreveport. And I do know that just last week, there was court action where the judge ruled in favor of the Biomedical Research Foundation and against the LSU Board of Supervisors. Now, having said all that, My commitment is to go into office having not made a decision, but to be fair and to look into the matter and make sure that that hospital stays open. You know, I've told you this, and you met her last night. My mother was a 30-year emergency room nurse at a charity hospital. Making sure that those hospitals stay open, taking care of the most vulnerable patient population in the state of Louisiana is a critical priority for me. We have problems with the way that the privatization of those hospitals was done in the first instance. You all don't report on it much, but today the state of Louisiana owes $190 million to the federal government because of the illegal scheme to draw down Medicaid dollars with upfront lease payments that didn't bear a relationship to the fair market value of hospitals. In one case, it wasn't even open and constructed when the payments were made, with hold harmless arrangements which clearly violated federal law. So we owe $190 million back, and we're going to have to deliver health care to this population over the coming years with $190 million less than we were supposed to have. So I'm committed to making the model work. The transactional cost of standing up these hospitals again as state-owned and state-operated hospitals is simply too high. We're going to make it work, but we're going to have to know what it's going to cost more than a year at a time, and we're going to have a revenue source in place because right now those contracts allow those hospitals to give those partners to give 60 days notice if we don't appropriate enough money for them. And we're not going to continue to move in that direction. We're going to have a better arrangement, a more sustainable arrangement, and that includes all the hospitals. But I'm committed to making sure that all of these hospitals stay open and strong so that we can meet our commitments to the people of Louisiana. And by the way, there is not a partnership model that works in the long run without Medicaid expansion because the DSH dollars are going to be cut. They're going to start getting cut in 2017. They're going to be cut by as much as 75% by 2020. If we have not expanded the Medicaid program on the one hand and we lose DSH dollars on the other, it will not just be our safety net hospitals that close. It'll be more than that. So we've got a lot of work to do. Tyler? Now, Tyler, you've been sitting back there quiet. You just asked me about 9 questions. All right, and I'm gonna see if I can address them. I'll address the questions. First of all, I have not spoken to the president. Governor Jindal did call me last night, and he was very gracious. He congratulated me and told me that he and Supriya were sending best wishes to myself and my family. We don't have a dinner date yet, but we're working on setting one up soon. And it will probably include our children because I've got a son who is extremely interested in what it's going to be like to live in Baton Rouge. And Governor Jindal has a son who is close to his age. So we're going to go and do that with Governor Jindal. He promised me that we would have complete cooperation during the transition and that he was absolutely committed to making sure that we could move forward in a way that would serve the people of Louisiana. I am not moving away from expanding Medicaid as early as I possibly can. I just know that there may be a hurdle that we have to overcome first with respect to making sure that we do it properly because of the question around HCR 75. I want to make sure that when we do it, we have a revenue source identified so that when the match that the state has to put up is required, and it's going to grow up to 10% over the next few years, that it is in fact in place and that it works and that it's an arrangement that everybody is comfortable with, including the federal government. The last thing that I want to do is compound the problems that Governor Jindal has created, for example, with the clawback that we know CMS is going to take from us over the coming years of $190 million. Now, you'll have to forgive me because I think I answered 4 questions. If there was another one in there.
That's 3 of the 5.
Oh, wait a minute. But my Senator Ben Nevers. Look.
There's nothing against him, but he is a senator, so what's his managerial experience?
Well, first of all, Senator Nevers is a small businessman. He is a committed and dedicated public servant who has served Senate District 12 very well, and before that, in the House of Representatives, he was a very able and effective member of the House of Representatives. I will just tell you, he has my complete confidence. He is a gifted and talented man. He is respected throughout state government and in the private sector. And I will just tell you, he knows state government. He has the relationships necessary to help me do what we have to do, and he is fully committed with respect to the issues that we raised in this campaign and my position on those issues. So I could not be happier with the decision that I have made, and couldn't be, any more pleased than, that the fact that Senator Nevers agreed to do this. And the last question was what?
Some of you've had various meetings today with various folks. Could you talk about what you've been trying to do in those meetings?
Yeah, I can, and I'll do that in the coming days. Well, look, there are a number of executive orders that we will issue, and some that we will rescind, although I'm not sure that an executive order, and I'm not trying to quibble with you, I'm not sure that an executive order issued by Governor Jindal survives past the day he leaves office anyway. I don't know that rescinding them is necessary. I will find that out, because there's certainly some executive orders that he's issued that I take exception to, and that will not reflect my governance style. And so we will take a look at those. But I've been running for this office for 2 years, and I have addressed all sorts of questions about what I will do as governor and what types of executive orders I will issue. None of that has changed. I'm not a different person today than I was yesterday or the day before. My agenda has not changed, and I think you're gonna see an awful lot of consistency between the way I govern and the way that I campaign. It'll be a fresh change for the people of Louisiana. I thank y'all very much for the opportunity to be with you today, and I look forward to the next time we get a chance to visit.